Hello, 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 and welcome to the kickoff party for the much, super anticipated, which finger is it? This one. eLearn Success Series Design Session. I see we already have 14 people here in the room with us. Or at least that's the number that I can see right now. Pretty excited to have you here. Chris and I are here to have a fun time over the next 45 minutes, hour or so. It really depends on how much we all want to talk about and discuss what's going to be happening at the design session. We're going to give, we're going to give 3 or 4 minutes like we always do here at the beginning to give people time to sign in, show up. I mean, it's 8 o'clock on the East Coast right now. That means what? It's 5 o'clock on the West Coast of the United States. What time is it in Colombia?
So 8 p.m. in Bogota and New York, ET time.
Yeah, I wonder what time it is in Europe. I don't know. It's night. It's late in Europe. But hey, here's the good news. If you're in Australia, it's kind of like right at the beginning of the day. It's like 9, 10 in the morning, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, something like that.
I got you. It's noon in Melbourne, 10 a.m. in Tokyo, 9 a.m. in Manila.
Nice.
8 a.m. in Bangkok.
Fantastic. So if you are here watching us live, or you're here for the kickoff of the eLearn Success Series, the design session, do me the favor. First of all, tell us who you are. We do see your comments. So in that little chat that's usually on the right side of your screen there, if you're on a desktop, I'm not sure where it would appear if you're on a mobile right now, to be honest with you. But tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what you're calling in, where you're calling from. Tell us what time it is where you're sitting right now. Are you going to be grabbing a cocktail or a coffee right now? Are you having a comida, as they might say here in Mexico? We do have I've been watching the registrations come in for the eLearn Success Series, registrations, and they literally are from all over the world. I was talking with a gentleman from Kuwait this morning because he was asking about stuff. There's lots of people who are dialing in from Australia. Lucy, the first comment that I see right now from California. Good evening to you. I hope maybe it's pre-dinner for you. I'm not sure. Where else? Where else have I seen? A lot of people from your part of the world, Christian, where you're sitting right now: Colombia, Ecuador, Brazil, Chile. I've seen a few people from Mexico. Hello, Sandro. Thank you very much for joining us. You're also from you're from Colombia. Sweet. Ayula from the Philippines, and it's 9:02 a.m. Sweet. I love that. I love that. I'm literally, my family is eating dinner right now without me, and you're, having your second cup of coffee. Jennifer from Ohio, thank you so much. Fantastic. Welcome. Susie from Melbourne, thank you so much. Australian contingent showing up. Let's see, who else? Sarah from, it says Sarah, but your name is actually Melody. Also from Queensland, Australia. And Sarah, if you would put in, I think you need to tell us in the chat, what is Gubby Gubby country mean? What does that mean? Or is it Gooby Gooby? Gubby Gubby, Gooby Gooby? I don't know. Chris, do you know?
No, I've gotten in trouble for not understanding some Australian slang in the past. So.
Helen, also from Australia. Which part of Australia? There's a lot. Australia's a big country, Helen. I mean, what part of the world or what part of Australia in? My software tutor. I remember. I'm trying to remember because I saw you in the community today. Is it David? Is it Ben? Is it Chris? I can't remember. I apologize. I can't remember your name all the time, but great to see you. Thank you so much for coming from Los Angeles, California. Helen, Melbourne. Nice. I have had the pleasure of visiting your city. I wonder if we'll see anybody from Europe. It's pretty late. Steve. Oh, wow. Cool. I'm a Steven as well myself. Fantastic. Again, we're going to just take like one more minute here. If you are in the chat, if you are watching us live right now, we'd love for you to play along. We're going to be asking some questions. We're going to be explaining all of the different parts of the eLearn Success Summit, why we're doing it, how we do it, how it all works. I'm going to go through all of the different speakers. We're going to talk about each of the different sessions, and we're going to be giving away some all access passes. So I think that will be pretty fun. And you got to, you'll have to actually pay attention and pay along, play along in order to win one of the all access passes. While we're still waiting for more people to come to this kickoff meeting, if you would, for those that we've seen here, tell me what your most important question in e-learning is today. If you're a teacher, is it how to keep students engaged? If you are in the server room, if you're an EdTech nerd, is it, what's the most important plugin that you're worried about? If you're a designer, which we have lots and lots of obvious designers in the room, what's your biggest design question? If you are a creator, if you are a masterclass creator, what's your biggest question about the e-learning universe today? We'd love to see your questions there in the chat. And I think Chris is rapidly and actually happily responding to many people right now. As going on, we're going to get things kicked off here in about one minute. We're just going to give it time for a few more people to show up, and we'll get started. I also want to remind everyone as well that if you have not already, I know that I send you a lot of email, but I'm going to remind you again, and today and also tomorrow throughout the entire session, join us in our community. elearnsuccesssummit.com/community. Just use that link to go over. That's where we're going to be talking before the sessions. That's where we're going to be talking after the sessions. That's where we have grown a community. It's got thousands of e-learning professionals in it already. There is a thread that is dedicated just for the eLearn Success series, and it's a place where we can, you can connect with other people. It's a place where you can ask questions and get them answered. It's a place where you can offer answers to others for problems that you've overcome yourself. And most importantly, it's a place where you can share successes as well. I always talk about these challenges that we have, but it's so great to share successes, right? We have so many success stories out there of, especially over the last 20 months, of people really using e-learning to better people's lives, enhance learners' ability to learn. I just had Laura Warnier, who is the Chief Growth Officer of Go Student, which is one of these EdTech unicorns. We just had her on the eLearning Hot Seat earlier today. And to hear her talk about, they have 1.5 million tutoring students log on every month. It's unbelievable. It's an incredible amount of traction that they have. Jennifer Van Wagner, what are the latest technologies that will push us ahead and that we are not doing now? It's a great question, because, many times we have those situations where, is technology even the solution that you need, right? I mean, I'm as guilty as anybody else at, we always look for that shiny object, or we look for that plugin or that app that's going to solve the problem, when maybe that's the key. But a lot of times technology does create efficiencies. It creates new pathways. It creates engagement opportunities. Let's see. Your name was not Sarah. What is your name? Melody in Gobi Gobi Country. How to find the balance between activity and engagement. I am really excited for you to talk more about that, both in the community and in the session tomorrow with the presenters, because I'd love to see what you mean. Again, just like Gobi Gobi Country, what is the difference between activity and engagement to you? Is activity? Go ahead, Chris.
Why not both?
Sure, I guess, but that's what I'm really interested in. Like, what's the different definition of activity? What's the definition of engagement? And how do we square those or bring those both together? Lucy, you were telling us that course accessibility. Now, there's another great. In the eLearn Success Summit 2021, I called accessibility like the next kind of the e-learning superpower, right? I think that's the e-learning superpower of at least the next 4 or 5 years, until it just becomes a standard, a normal, that we're all, truly using universal design and using, just standard accessibility protocols. But do you mean accessibility in terms of the digital divide? Like, does everybody have the same bandwidth? Does everybody have devices? Is accessibility, neuroplasticity issues? How are we making sure that we're inclusive and of all different learners across all different spectrums? What does accessibility mean to you? That is a great conversation to have over in the community. Steve over at My Software Tutor, why don't more companies value synchronous learning rather than taking the check the box route of asynchronous training? That's a great question. Go ahead, Chris. I see that you wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, it's a great conversation, a great debate, and it reminds me of our podcast guest last week, because she makes kind of a point to say many teachers were not equipped to synchronous learning. Like they ended up doing this and feeling they don't have to, maybe they don't have to, and she, Courtney Osthoff, and she wrote a great book, and part of the message of her book is you don't have to do it because that's not what you signed up for. If that's what you feel on synchronous, like online learning, there is a case to be made. I don't mean to be very controversial, but there is a case to be made with high quality asynchronous training. But she makes a much better case than I'm doing right now. So I invite you to just check out her episode and check out her book. If I can plug it right away,
Nice.
the online teaching handbook.
Online teaching, yes.
Yeah.
Osthoff. Sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to butcher her name there. Yeah. I want to see the Australian Research Board. I did not see your name come in from there. That is Susie from Melbourne. Sorry, the comments come in a little differently on our end. Sometimes they don't see your name. What is best practice in transitioning an in-person training to online learning or training? That is a fantastic question. You know, you're going to hear, I'm excited to kind of dive into the presentations or overview the presentations, because I know at least 2 or 3 different speakers are going to be talking around this. You know, even our opening keynote, which is Dr. Jane. Oh no, her last name is just
Bozarth.
Bozarth. Gosh, thank you so much. Her last name just completely went out of my head. Dr. Jane Bozarth. She is the head of research over at the Learning Guild. She's going to be talking about how design and that profession of instructional design has changed over time, and what it means to be able to transition to something. Is like, do you even transition the in-person training to an online training anymore, or is it a complete rethink? How are we meeting learners where they're at right now? How are we taking, rather than putting the the in-person training online, how are we using the medium that we have and the opportunity that we have to actually rethink the delivery of that, to increase engagement, to increase outcomes, to increase completions, etc. Jacqueline Pinto, I believe you were from the Philippines. Correct me if I'm wrong. How to implement personalized and adaptive learning in e-learning. I love this because personalization and adaptation. This is a great debate. Chris, I'd love to hear your opinion. You've heard it from many of our guests on the podcast over the last couple of weeks as well. AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning is such a huge component of how personalization and adaptive learning is taking place. Where do you stand on it? Where do you think things are going right now?
Maybe I'm beating on a dead horse. No, it's not really a dead horse. On online tutoring, like I think that's a really, I don't know, an element that I've seen it. I mean, we've seen it here repeatedly. Today, Lauren, she was talking about how technology can help to optimize a lot of processes, like in the back end, in order to make more tutors more available to more students all around the world. And I think it's fine to admit that there is an element in that relationship that just technology cannot bring there. So of course, technology is great. They can make a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, this one-on-one connection where when the tutor can actually focus on a student, even if for a short amount of time, I think that's going to be, or I hope that it continues to be well valued.
For sure. Absolutely. I mean, I think, we've heard it on the podcast in the hot seat, time and time again, but personalization and AI happen every day right now under the hood without us even knowing it. And it's really about how are we going to use and harness that technology to our advantage and, use it in an ethical way rather than letting it, sort of the cart lead the horse. Is that what it is? Or let the tail wag the dog? I'm not sure which one of those idioms it is. Sandra, who I apologize that I forgot where you are from, but Sandra, why the
Colombia.
LXP fuss is so much about platforms and so little about experience design? That's a great question. Oops, sorry about that.
I think it's true. Yeah.
Sandro, I apologize, not Sandra, Sandro.
Sandro.
That's a really prescient question. That's really interesting. As you know, we both, Chris and I both work for OpenLMS. You can see here at the top. And OpenLMS is our platinum sponsor for this summit, obviously, for this whole eLearn Success series. But and you know, we had an LXP, and that's part of our platforms, part of our offerings that we put out there in the world. We have this conversation often, but I agree with you, Sandro. Like, it goes back to that human element about why are we not really thinking about the experience and more talking more about how are we connecting chat and how are we connecting content management, how are we connecting access to knowledge bases, you know, and those types of things, rather than you know, what's the overall experience for the user and making it so that it really is that learning in the flow of work, as Dean Saunders, our colleague, loves to talk about all the time, right? Jennifer Wagner, how can we help faculty want to make these changes post-pandemic demands? Ooh, that's a great one. That's a great question, especially in the higher ed space. I know that many people who are going to be joining us across the globe are going to come from the higher ed space. The pandemic has really forced upon all of us. I'm in that space as well. I'm a teacher at American. I'm an adjunct instructor at American University. I've watched my colleagues over at American University. Some of them absolutely thrive with the transition to online learning. Some of them have really had, you know, struggled with that situation of saying, how do I, as somebody said earlier, how do I take my in-person class and then, you know, put it online and do that differently? But how do we support them, right? How do we lift up, you know, all of those people who want to continue to deliver for learners to meet the needs and the demands of today? Great question. I'm looking forward to discussing that with you. Excuse me. Claire Evans, how to keep learners interested and engaged when they have to be self-motivated and self-disciplined to do the asynchronous coursework? Again, this is a great design question. You want to talk about it? Like, go ahead. I love the look on your face, Christian. Go ahead.
I think it's kind of hilarious that Claire is asking that to us when she's like, she was in our summit last year, talking about those experiences around STEM, like STEM with an A. And IE with innovation and engineering. And I think she has a lot of really great clues on how, especially on science, you can give some principles to students, and they maybe on a live session they see it at work, but they are so interesting and they awake such curiosity, then they're like naturally willing to try stuff on themselves. And I've experienced that with when I was like a tutor. Mm-hmm. So I would suggest you just I don't know, doing header. We should bring her over.
She does it every day. I mean, she's running this whole network of people every day. So that's you know, Claire, I hope that you will put your experiences. We're going to point people to you, you know, to your session from last year, but also I hope that you will point people to your experiences about how you've engaged learners through your courses and those kinds of things as well. I want to give an apology to Jacqueline. I said that you're from the Philippines. Turns out you're actually from Caracas. I apologize. Welcome from Venezuela. Con mucho gusto. Excellent. I'm so glad to have you here. And I also want to give a shout out to, you know, the person who is our executive director, Phil Miller. Thanks for coming. Really great to see you here. I hope that he'll put some comments in the YouTube chat there as well, because I'd love to hear what his vision and his thoughts are for what's happening in design and e-learning right now. Ben Shields, I'm going to take this will be the last one I'm going to have, and then we're going to jump into the material we have prepared to talk about the summit, to talk about the series, talk about the design session that's going to be happening tomorrow, and where I'm super excited about it. But Ben, you said how to address learner apathy and make it more usable and attractive thanks to this pandemic fatigue. I see what you're saying. So you're saying, like, the pandemic, especially for younger learners, but I would say adult learners as well, that we've been beaten to death. We've been online all the time. There are some fascinating conversations coming up on the eLearn Hot Seat and podcast about. And I know we always have Britt Andrietta on to talk about brain science, but there's another gentleman coming on whose name is escaping me, unfortunately, right now. He's also going to be talking about brain science. I have already learned some fascinating things from him about our inability to just even cope when we're in the online space, simply because we don't have the same pharmonic responses and we don't have the same air pressure responses in order to just have those normal reactions. And so our brains kind of go out of control, and that's why we get so fatigued during an online session. Before I dive in here, quick question that everybody's going to ask. Will all the sessions be recorded and shared post-session? The answer is yes, Susie. The answer is that all of the sessions and all of the presentations are available for 24 hours for everybody with a free ticket. So starting at noon Eastern time tomorrow, they will go all the way through Thursday, so February 24th, all the way to the end of the day. You'll be able to access them and watch the sessions either live or recorded. And then they go into our all access vault, all access pass vault. And so you'll have to purchase an all access pass at that point to access the sessions from the design session. There you go. Phil Miller, just putting it out there. What I love about learning design is natural tendency of the practitioners to share with each other and learn. Absolutely, 100%. Christian, I think it is time for us to dive into the material. And again, remember, we're going to be giving away at least 6, if not more, all access passes across this. So please do pay attention, follow along, and I'll be asking some questions here at the get-go to start giving away some of those passes really quick. Before, just to start our presentation, as we always do, we want to thank our sponsors. Our gold sponsor, our platinum sponsor is the company we work for, OpenLMS. They make all of this possible. We do this at OpenLMS because we are really, really, we're dedicated. We love being a part of the e-learning community. It's super important to us. And this is our way of giving back. This is our way of making sure that we are contributing to thought leadership. This is our way of contributing to the conversations in the community, not only in our space of, learning management systems and custom design and those kinds of things, but also how do we do learning better, right? Because as we help everyone to learn more and learners be more effective, we're lifting all boats. We also want to give a shout out to Intelliboard, who is our gold sponsor. If you don't know data analytics, or if you're not looking at data analytics in your e-learning system, Intelliboard is definitely the way to go. We've been, working with Intelliboard, Chris and I, from our Moodle News days and then our LMS Pulse days, almost a decade now, if not more than a decade. Always great folks, and they've continued to grow by leaps and bounds, and they have some extremely exciting stuff. Intelliboard Next coming out. iSpring, again, new sponsors for us, but we're super excited to have them. Lots of content that they can share with you, lots of interesting platforms and different technology that you can use in order to create an effective learning design. So definitely check them out. And then Open Sesame, obviously, content, great stuff. They just absolutely are going crazy with the number of requests that they're getting for the type of content they create. It's absolutely fantastic. And I hope that you will visit them as well. Again, if you want to talk to our sponsors, if you want to connect with them, please visit us, elearnsuccessseries.com/community. That will take you over to our community, and you can jump into the ESS thread and go from there. So, no further ado, I want to talk about why we do this stuff. Before I dive through there, Chris, I'm just gonna take it for a second. So here's the thing. We have arrived at the new normal. I'm just calling it, right? Like I've been lucky enough to host these online summits for the last 3 years now. And, at first we said, oh my gosh, this is a new thing. We've got to get used to it. And then the second one was, how do we do it better? And now we've arrived at a place where nothing is ever going to be the same, right? Learning in your office life, they're never going to go back. I have 3 kids. Everybody knows this, who's ever listened to the podcast. We see them come in and out of school as things change. We've seen it in the United States as well. At least that's what I pay attention to when there's snow days or these kinds of things. And then we've seen the great transitions in remote work and online work, about how teams are working differently and how we're learning differently. So we're in this new place that we now call normal. And e-learning, online learning, is no longer a gimmick. I think, I've had this discussion with Phil Miller before. I've had this discussion with you, Chris. I've been looking at this space, or been in this space, for a long time. And we have to admit, online learning, it was often seen as a gimmick. It was often seen as a, hey, here's a cool thing that we could do, as a nice to have, or as a add-on. But now it is front and center. This is how we deliver almost all the time now. And so it's really important for us to understand how to do this. And in many ways, we've moved into a period of more uncertainty. So we had David, who is the director of the CEO of the Learning Guild, on the hot seat just 2 weeks ago. And actually, it was just last week. And he was talking about, as he looks at trends across their almost 70,000 members, for him, the biggest trend to pay attention to is hybrid. He characterized it all in that one word of hybrid, and how hybrid is, essentially not a game changer anymore, because it already changed the game, but that is what we have to consider. How are we being agile? How are we designing for hybrid? How are we allowing for transition, easy and smooth transition? How are we rethinking the learning experience so that it can take place within that hybrid environment? And so the reason, as we think of all these challenges that are out there, we, as OpenLMS, wanted to continue to put together these learning events to support this community in building skills, in learning new methods, new technologies, in learning new techniques, new skills. And that is why the eLearn Success Series exists. As I alluded to a few minutes ago, this is the third year I've had the privilege of hosting this series. The last 2 years, in 2020, we answered the question of how to do online learning. Chris and I, we sort of got lucky coming out of the gate of the pandemic, that we put the first summit on the table. And that was really like, hey, what is a learning management system for schools that didn't have one, for corporations that had never done online learning? How do we even do this? And we talked about the tools, and we talked about the technology, and we talked about data science and those kinds of things. And we introduced more than 5,000 people to what online learning could mean. And then in 2021, as we all were kind of in the middle of, what does this new normal look like, we had the summit again, and we helped more than 8,000 people crack the code on how to improve learner engagement. So we had a couple of people already ask about, how do we look at accessibility? How do we look at engagement? How do we look at bringing, that apathy question as well? That was what we did last year. We talked about engagement, and we had 72 speakers over a 3-day period. It was a nonstop flow of information, which was absolutely fantastic. And then, as we do, we always, we listen to the feedback. Everybody who attends this session right now, you're going to get an email from me that says, hey, look, how did we do? What did you learn? What didn't you learn? What do you wish that we have done better? What would you have liked to have seen, etc. I want you to fill out that feedback form for me, or tell us in the community, as you can see on your screen right now, about how we can do better, because we learn from it. So we listen and we listen. And so what we've done this year is we've designed things differently. Rather than having one giant event one time during the year that kind of lasted 3 days, and you'd have to take, literally 72 or more hours out of your schedule to even try to pay attention to it all, we've broken the eLearn Success Summit into what we call the eLearn Success Series. So the series is now going to take place once per quarter. There's 4 events. This is the first session that we're getting ready for tomorrow, which is the design session. And the design session is all focused on how do we design a better learning experience. And we have 8 great speakers, and those speakers are extremely focused on this particular topic. The community conversations are going to be focused on this topic, but they are also going to bleed out and lead to other threads that we'll also talk about the next session, which is how to do instruction. How can we be more engaging in this online platform? How can we improve or reduce that apathy that I believe Ben was saying earlier? How do we just, make the environment around us a little better so that we increase our professionalism, so that we, level up our game. How do we, I'm thinking now, Chris, help me with the name of the podcast guest, the woman, the professor in California who, she would talk about, let's not just put our in-person class online. Let's rethink it. And she talks about, let's do podcasts, let's do quiz game shows, let's do, all kinds of different ways of rethinking how we deliver education. So that's what, on May 4th, that's what our instructor session is all about. In July, we have
Mariana Goral.
No, it's one before that, but we'll find her later.
Rhonda.
Who?
Rhonda Beeman.
Rhonda Beeman, thank you so much.
I don't think people can hear me.
She's in California as well. So you should go listen to her episode on the podcast. Absolutely fantastic. The third session is in July, and it's our EdTech, our data science section. If you geek out on shiny new objects, if you are really interested in the tech, if you are really interested in how can we leverage technology to improve the learner experience, to deliver learning differently, to be innovative in this way. This is the same. Data science. I didn't mention data science. To talk about how do we use the analytics and the data that we get from all this technology to improve the learner experience and learner outcomes. July 20th is your time. And then in October, on October 19th, we have our innovation session. And a spoiler alert, or raising a flag here, it's our hope to have that session in person. We have not made an internal decision yet about whether or not that's going to happen in person, but super cool if it would be in person, because I would love to meet many people, once again, get connected with people and meet this community in person. Let's see. We have a couple of people asking some questions here. Just want to check out what they're doing. Some questions about, isn't feedback a part of, a really important component of learning design? Actually, Hitachi Koitan, tomorrow she's talking to that. That's a huge part of her presentation about how she does stuff at Priceline and how they use the ADDIE method in order to use that feedback loop in order to improve their learning. And then we have a couple of people. Let's see. Establish a learning environment. Excellent. Sorry. So moving on. Again, we've thanked our sponsors, and now I'm going to kick it off this year. Usually I wait too long, but we're already half hour in, so I got to give away some of these All Access passes. So we're going to give away 3 All Access passes. And what I want you to do is, if you have listened to the podcast at any time and you have paid attention at all to LMS Pulse or OpenLMS, you should be able to answer this question. And we're gonna collect all of the correct answers, and we'll pull them out and give them away to some random people. But what city do I live in, and how many kids do I have? That's the question. Because now, if you've paid attention to the podcast, I've actually lived in a couple of different countries, and I love to talk about my family. But where do I live? What city do I live in? And how many kids do I have? We'll give away 3 All Access passes for people who can answer that question correctly. So
I kind of gave one VIP pass already.
Sweet, great. I'm glad that you gave one away. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. Really close. I love that. Sort of close but not where I live. Somebody got the children right, but not where I live. So who am I? I am the principal of eLearning advocacy at OpenLMS. That's who I am. That is the job that I fulfill on a day-to-day basis. I also as you've heard me say now 100 times, I host the eLearn podcast and the Elearn Hot Seat, which are many times one and the same. I work with my colleague, Chris. I'll let him introduce himself in just a second here. But I'm also an adjunct instructor at American University in Washington, D.C. in the United States. So I want to, I put that on the table just to let you know, I'm not just somebody who's working for a tech company and kind of talking about this and never actually does it. I actually deliver learning to, young adults or adults on light adult learners on on a regular basis. So I get it when you get that email from the administration about, the new LMS or the new policy or the new, hey, here's the new design, seminar to come show you how to do design. I get all those emails as well, and I am sympathetic to them. Chris, why don't you take 30 seconds and introduce yourself as well?
Well, okay. Thank you, everyone. Good night or good morning. I'm Chris. I am an economist by trade, and I've done a couple of things. I've traveled around, and currently I'm the coordinator of community and digital initiatives at OpenLMS. I'm the editor-in-chief of LMS Pulse, where we try to just put our ear on the ground on what's happening in e-learning around the world and issues around the e-learning. If I can just plug one thing, we just released the beginning of what I hope to be an ongoing series on the other Afghanistans. And it's all these other places where children, especially girls, have a hard time getting the education that they require, but are not as often featured on the press as Afghanistan did a while back. And we try to do projects. I like to have fun with what we do. I'm having a lot of fun right now, and I'm thrilled to see everyone here. I think I'm way past my 30 seconds. Please.
It's all right, man. It's fantastic. People love learning about you. So many people interact with Chris in emails, on chats, in interviews, in the articles that we publish on LMS Pulse. He's growing and taking more and more of a role in our live performances as well and stuff. So I really appreciate you, and I'm so happy to have you on the stage here with me. Let's talk about what happens when they sign up. So when you sign up, we want to make sure that you're going to be seeing these two pieces of value come your way and that you use them. Chris, you're gonna share it. So
you mean
the learning journal. So the first thing that you're going to get when you sign up for the summit, and you should all have it in your inbox right now, not only is an email from me saying, hey, go join the community, but you're going to get this learning journal. And we wanted to put this together just as a real quick thing for you to have a resource so that you can go through each of the sessions. And as you go through each of the sessions, take some notes, because as we know, in order to learn effectively, you're not only going to take the information in, but you got to record it and then put it into that long-term memory, right? And you've got to make it meaningful for yourself. So we put this resource together for you so that if as you pay attention to the sessions or the presentations that are important to you, it doesn't just flow into the next email, and it doesn't just flow into the next thing. Like, write down those key points, those notes that are important to you, and how you're going to use them in your career, your whatever, today, tomorrow, the next day. Give yourself that those little micro goals in order to use that information quickly. Great. Oh man, another swing and a miss. Lucy, 3 children, Costa Rica is what she said. Fantastic. I love that people have known me for this long. It is so awesome. The other thing that you're going to receive is the designers. Can we put the designer piece up? The design canvas. And so, Chris, why don't you walk us through this one?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it in previous office hours. It's basically a process where you can sort of jot down things that you want to keep in mind into the process of design. A lot of those stuff is coming from the conversations that we had with the speakers. So hopefully when you take a look at this and you're listening to tomorrow's sessions, you will see some word here and some word there and some idea of how to fill out each one of these 5 elements here. So yeah, that's basically it. We have these 5. First of all, begin with your learner. Try to understand who he is, where he's coming from, where does he live. Try to paint a world. And then when you go to the storytelling, you can start painting sort of the arc where the student goes from not knowing to having learned. And then just complement it with principles. I guess there's a lot of talk about principles tomorrow. Along with a lot of practical stuff as well. Technology is always something to keep in mind. And the analytics, which I believe wraps up the cycle of what did I try, what went wrong, what went right, what should I do again for the next time, and start over. That's
Super cool.
basically
I've got a
it.
friend here in Mexico named Paulina. I think this is going to be super helpful for her. She works in an innovation setting, and she's working on a learning project right now. And this is something where you can take this and put it on the table of a client and use this to create something great. Thanks so much, Chris. Okay, next part of our conversation today is, how does this summit work? You've seen it in the emails that we sent, but I also just want to walk everybody through and remind them about how the 4 sections work and what to expect over the next 24 hours here, especially. At its heart, this series is something that we're looking to demystify what instructional design is. We want to provide really tangible, practical, pieces that you can go and use in your practice today. But one of the things that we really want to do is we also want to connect you with others so that you can share stories, share successes, share challenges, and again, support one another. So one of the key pieces of the summit that I've mentioned already, but I want to reiterate, is that there's 4 sessions this year. There's not just one. So tomorrow is our design session. And the design session is focused on instructional design. On May 4th is our instructor session. On July 20th is our EdTech and data science session. And in our innovation session is on October 19th. All 4 of them will be available virtually. And what happens is that now that you're signed up, if you're listening now, you're already signed up, we will notify you of each of the sessions as they happen. But more and more people are going to be joining us throughout the year. For each of the sessions, you have 24 hours to watch the live sessions, and then kind of the immediate recording of each of those sessions. We make that available for at least 24 hours. After that 24 hours, though, they do get locked in what we call our all access pass vault. And so you do need to actually have to pay to play in order to not only get the access to the recordings, of course you get the access to all of the recordings, but you also get some special bonuses like discounts, giveaways, and those kinds of things. We also try to lift up our all access pass holders a little bit more by providing them with some special sessions, some added bonuses, and those kinds of things. All of the presentations tomorrow will be live. So starting with Jane and going all the way down to Michelle Ockers and then my closing, everyone will be live. And so the reason why I want you to attend is because these speakers are here to also engage with you and answer your questions. All of the presentations have built-in Q&A time. And so I really, really encourage you to not only come and listen, but then participate and actually put your questions in, put your challenges, put your observations in, because that really not only livens it up for everyone, but it also makes the session more interesting and makes it more valuable for everyone. If you haven't already, after the sessions, we've also built in networking time to come and talk with one another, time to take a break, time to also go visit our sponsors, and that is over in the eLearning community. And so by visiting elearnsuccessseries.com/community, you will be able to go to that community. And if you haven't already, you should sign up because it's free as well. And there's already thousands of other people in there. We use the community as a way to support offer innovation, offer support to our clients, offer support to the eLearning community in general. So come over and join us there, because there's a specific thread for eLearn Success Series, and that's where we're going to be discussing everything after the sessions. And then finally, let's pull up the all access pass right now, because I'm going to share my screen right now.
Oh, go ahead.
And we will. So I want to show everyone, demystify what this all access pass place looks like. Right now it's set up and ready to go. So if you were to come into the all access pass today, this is what it would look like. And you'll see here on the left-hand side, we already have the design session set up for this year. So as soon as those sessions are done, we'll be putting them into this space so that you can come and watch at your leisure. For all of the speakers for tomorrow. But this is the key thing right now. Putting those, whatever it is, $60, $70 in for an all access pass gets you a ton of stuff. So here's all of the eLearn Success Series 2021. And so remember what I said, there's 72 speakers here, and they're all already here. So this is actually Mark Parry. He's going to be speaking tomorrow, but this is a session from the eLearn Success Series last year. Casper Spiro, about how to do engaging design. He's from Easy Generate, right? You can see here we have a ton of people. This is Dean Saunders from OpenLMS, Learning in the Flow of Work from last year. But then here it is. I'm going to go even deeper. We also have all of the sessions from 2020 as well. And so your All Access Pass, again, just gives you this massive library of discussions around how do we do online learning better. And it's all available to you instantly as soon as you sign up for the All Access Pass. All of the information from the 2022 sessions, obviously we have to wait for each session to happen before we can put that put those pieces of information or put those sessions in there. But they will be they'll be in there essentially the day after the sessions go live. So I encourage everybody to go over there and grab an All Access Pass if you would like to have that kind of value. Question for everybody in the chat. I know that you're here for the design session, but which one of them speaks to you most? I just, one word. Is it design? Is it instructor? Is it EdTech or data science? Or is it innovation? If you have a second and you're listening right now, throw it in the chat. We'd really like to kind of get a sense of which one of these sessions speaks to you most and which one you're most excited about. Chris, it is now time to give away some more All Access Passes.
I think there is one winner already.
There is.
Yes,
there is. Well, it's Claire. Do they see Claire?
I don't know that.
Maybe he lives in Mexico. No, vivo en Mexico. See. Yes, excellent. Yes, I do have 3 kids and I do live in Mexico. So excellent. Nice data. I love it. Penny, thanks for telling us you're interested in the data session. Lucy, innovation session. Great. Yeah, take a few seconds. My question for you as well, for the next All Access Pass, I'll give away 3 more, but this is really easy because you don't have to search for anything. But I need you to be specific. And the question is what's your most critical or troublesome design challenge today? So, and I'd love for you to try to be as specific as possible. And so, is that, again, is it an engagement issue? Is it a accessibility issue? Is it, creating consistency across your institution? Is it getting buy-in from leadership? What is your most critical or troublesome design challenge today? And again, we'll pull 3 people out of a hat to give away All Access Passes at that. All right, Chris, it is time now. And I can't believe how quickly an hour goes, but we're going to have to burn through these burn through these sessions. So let's talk about it. So who's going to be? Can you share? Will you share the? Yeah, here we go. I got it. There you go. Boom. So tomorrow, just follow on quickly. Phil Miller is going to open us up. He's the executive director of OpenLMS. It's going to be a short, 15-minute welcome. I'll be on the stage with him, but he's going to lay out his vision and sort of welcome everybody. And I'm sure we'll put a few very interesting questions on the table for us to consider. Our next speaker is Dr. Jane Bozarth. She is, again, the director of research from the Learning Guild. And the reason I'm really excited about her session, I alluded to it earlier, is that her session is titled Why What We Do Matters, but she's going to be talking about research that she's done at the Guild about how the profession of the instructional designer has evolved. And that is, as she and I were talking about it, she said, it used to be the person who, makes the PowerPoint slides look nice. And now, the instructional designer has evolved into this, one of the hottest professions in learning today, about, a full project manager who is, has budget responsibilities and, really, takes a ton of time. It takes a ton of time and effort. So I'm really excited for our opening keynote speaker, Dr. Jane Bozar. Who's next? I believe it's Hitachi. Yes.
Yep.
All right. Hitachi Koitan. She was a super engaging guest on the podcast. I knew that I had to ask her to be a part of this. She is a senior learning and development specialist at Priceline. If you're familiar with the company, Priceline is one of those large travel sites. I don't know if you don't know who Priceline is. They're a huge company.
Yeah, and it's
go ahead.
It's Booking, it's Agoda, it's Kayak, right?
Yeah, it's a very large player in the travel space. And so she's going to be using ADDIE as the the design principle of ADDIE as her background to take us through some of the the way that they, they use that at Priceline and how that they have come up with some of their learning solutions. So that should be a really interesting conversation. And then who's our next one? I think actually we take a break after that, right? So I want to point out there, this is where one of our built-in breaks, 15 minutes, either a bio break or, go over a network in the community. So we'll be pointing everybody that way. And then Ted Curran. I'm going to say, I think he's the only one here who's 3 for 3, but I love Ted. Ted is he's a fantastic speaker. He is a learning experience designer at Autodesk. He never fails to show up with the goods in terms of putting something extremely practical, useful, and something everybody really loves on the table. And this time he's going to be doing something that he proposed as something that every learning designer or someone who doesn't think that they're a learning designer could use today, which is how to make motion graphics with presentation deck software. So like PowerPoint or Keynote or something like that. He has a step-by-step guide he's going to be walking us through about how to make this happen. So you just, get some more pop and some zing into those lessons that you create. Who's after Ted?
Natalie.
Ted is, I'm so psyched for Natalie. Here's the reason why I'm psyched for Natalie Miller. Natalie Miller, she's a founder of a company called XR Global. First of all, she's super cool, massively innovative. She's going to be dialing in from South Africa. And XR Global provides learning solutions with virtual reality. And I hear time and again that, virtual reality still hasn't come to of its day. People don't want to put these headsets on. There's all kinds of, it's cost ineffective, all of these different, reasons why people don't want to use virtual reality. And she has story after story about how she has not only delivered effective training, but she's done it at incredible prices and, have, the types of results that she's getting is absolutely incredible. So I'm really excited to see her presentation. It still may be, in the distance or in the future for most people, but it's going to be a great one. After that, we take a half an hour break for, again, networking and checking out our exhibitors. And then Justin Reinert, who is the director of learning development at a company called Amobi, which is an advertising company. And what I found really interesting about his presentation when he proposed it, we talked about it, was telling the story about how his company pivoted at that moment when the pandemic said, look, work is never going to be the same, right? And you have to essentially rethink how you're going to be delivering not only work, but also learning. And he's going to take us through their step-by-step process of how they pivoted and then actually created, as he says, maximum impact across their global organization in that. Who's our next speaker? Our next speaker is, I think, is Rose Benedicts. Yes, Rose, right. Who is the strategic consulting lead at eLearning. She has been in the in the online learning game, as Chris and I learned, for a very long time. But she is fantastic. She, full disclosure, transparency. eLearning is also it's a sister company to Open LMS under the LTG group, the Learning Technologies Group out of London. And she's going to be talking about 4 design imperatives for effective learning. And she says that she's done this talk in a number of different formats over the years, and she's now whittled it down to these 4 design imperatives that are just essential for creating that effective learning that works on those apathy issues or those engagement issues. So pretty excited. I think we have another break after that. Is that correct? Yes. Sure. Our final 15-minute break, and then Mark Pari. You heard me allude to him earlier. Mark is a fantastic, delightful presenter. And just, a consummate professional. He's going to be talking about timeless design. Timeless design. We asked him to talk about this when we were kicking around ideas, because that's one of the challenges that we have, especially in a corporate setting or other institutions where you want to build something that's going to last for a while, so they don't have to keep recreating it over and over again, even though micro-learning and, the extemporaneous nature of learning materials seem to be kind of the piece of the day.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just saw he posted, I think it was yesterday. This really, it was a post on LinkedIn. It's just like one of the slides of his presentation tomorrow, and it's hilarious about timelessness. And then you see like all the little devices from the diskette to the CD-ROM, and I don't know. I don't want to spoil it.
Okay,
it's really funny, so you want to check it out.
So after Mark is our keynote speaker, Michelle Ockermann. Michelle Ockers,
Others.
who is the founder and chief learning strategist at Learning Uncut. She is a e-learning powerhouse, and this is going to be a really, really cool closing keynote. As we were brainstorming and designing her presentation, she kind of came up with the idea of what if I talk about how she would talk about how the expectations that companies have from the higher learning space today. And I've seen drafts of her presentation. She's going to be putting some fantastic data on the table and really talking about that nexus of where higher learning meets corporations and back and forward. And it's really interesting. It's really prescient because the podcast that we released today was from another company called Upskills, which is Jody McPherson and Leah Jewell. They started this company that actually works with students to live in that nexus area of how do I go from being a new adult learner or a graduating adult learner into the workforce through by connecting them with projects. So I'm really excited for Michelle's keynote speech because it's going to talk to something that we're all very interested in, and it's going to be a great way to end the day. Although I guess yours truly will end the day. The final thing that you'll see at the end of the day is I'm going to wrap up everything. We'll be taking notes along the way, and I'll be encouraging everybody to come and continue the conversation in the community. I'll be giving away the final couple of all access passes here in a few seconds, but we're going to wrap this up here. What haven't we shown? Well, come over and join the eLearn podcast. Thanks for putting that on the table. If you're looking for other resources about how to do learning better, learning about what others are doing in e-learning, what kind of challenges they face, how do they grow companies, how do they create learner engagement, how do they overcome issues with video technology and those kinds of things. We talk about it all on the eLearn podcast. We have had a fairly traditional podcast format for quite some time now, for more than a year now. And we've started to innovate with some of the ways that we're doing that. We're doing many more what we call Elearn Hot Seats. So these are live presentations where you can still join, just like we're doing today, where you can join and ask questions and be a part of the conversation. And then we put that in the podcast. But I encourage everybody to go over lmspulse.com/ELP. We will be sending that resource to you all over and over again. Let's see. Chris, for the last 5 minutes here, I want to focus on the community. We haven't talked about the community or shown people that. We haven't built the community. That's been around for a while. So elearnsuccesssummit.com/community. The community is really truly a space where we're encouraging everybody to come over and join this this collection of thousands of e-learning professionals to share your stories, grow together. This is our way virtually of having those coffee conversations, of having those lunch breaks, of having those hallway conversations that you get at any other in-person event. And we've created, as you can see on the screen right now, this specific thread. And if you look down on the left-hand side of the screen, just down there below the topics, you'll see eLearn Success Series down there on the left-hand side. That is as soon as you sign in, as soon as you sign up, that will be in your feed. You just click on that, and that's where we can have these conversations. It's an easy way to find this one place where we're going to have all these. Again, it's completely free, and it's not only going to be used for the design session, it's going to be used for all of the 3 other sessions, and we use it as our space to continue to talk about these new conversations, these innovations, and these challenges that people are overcoming. I really appreciate, Jennifer, you putting on the table there that you're looking forward to Michelle Ocker's conversation, because I agree. This is one of the reasons why we agreed on her presentation about what is that disconnect between higher ed and corporate needs, and what I really like that your kind of follow-up part there. What should we do? I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow, I guess. Chris, are there any instructions to use the All Access Pass VIP? Other than, you'll get that when you sign up for an All Access Pass. We email you specific instructions about how to log in. But Chris, anything else that you can think of about that would be important instruction?
Honestly, yeah, just I hope it doesn't sound bad, but please enjoy the show tomorrow. Engage with us. Let's enjoy. And all the VIP goodness will be available afterwards. We'll have the recording. We're working on probably some Spanish translations of some of these contents, bonuses, and all kinds of stuff. So you will get your instructions in the mail. You were a winner today, so I will get in touch with you. About your VIP pass, but yeah, I mean, let's connect tomorrow during the day, and VIP will come a bit later if that's okay.
I think, Chris, we need to take a mental note as well. Like, this is again feedback for us, but something I'm noticing, we should probably have a login button in the community where people can go directly to the AAP section as well. So let's put that on there. Final giveaway. I want to give away 3 more all access passes for the first 3 people who can put in. Please just give me the name of the guests of the last 3 guests that we had on the eLearning podcast. Go over and check out the podcast and tell me what the last 3 names of those guests are. The first 3 people to do that in the chat, we will give you an all access path as well. Ooh, Isabel, thanks for your question. Sometimes there's a gap between functional design and grab attention design in course development right now. We've had some good conversations again in the podcast and in the hot seat as well about, and this one hasn't been published yet, but there was a conversation I had recently where there is a mythology, or there is a mistake that many of us make in thinking that instructional design is the same as graphic design, and graphic designers take a, or fulfill a very, very different role in the professional world than the learning designer does. And achieving learning outcomes and learning results requires a different way of thinking about design than graphic design. So thanks for that question, Isabel. Let's wrap this up. We're at the top of the hour. We've taken an hour of your time. I really, really want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, taking time out of your evening. We're going to be really, we're very excited to have you all join us tomorrow for the sessions. They start at 12 p.m. Eastern. But Chris, could you throw our sponsors back up on the screen real quick? I want to give a shout out to them. There we are. So everybody, please do take the time to go visit our sponsors. OpenLMS, as you know, Chris and I work for OpenLMS. That's our platinum sponsor. Intelliboard is our gold sponsor this year. If there's anything about data science or learning analytics that you have a question about, our folks at Intelliboard can definitely answer it. iSpringsolutions.com, I believe. They have lots of great technology and different features that you can use to improve your learning experience. And then content. Our folks over at Open Sesame. So please go check out Open Sesame. And again, they will all be available in the community tomorrow to answer your questions. That wraps up our kickoff party. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, join thousands of your colleagues tomorrow over at the eLearn Success Series design session. It starts at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's New York on Wednesday, February 23rd. But until then, thank you so much.
I'm putting my email so winners can reach out to me to get their VIP pass.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh. Maybe we should just wait. I mean, I can sit here and riff while people are putting in their answers.
No, we already have 2 winners.
Oh, nice.
Send your hands. So that would be Jennifer
and Penny
Van Wagner. And Penny Wheeler.
Sweet.
And we already had Claire and Jacqueline Pinto. Fantastic. So congrats, everyone.
Awesome.
So reach out to my email. And thank you.
As we say here in Mexico, muchísimas gracias. Buenas noches y hasta mañana.